That's me, Franny.
Hi, welcome back to FrannyTings. Not making that mistake again. But anyways, welcome back to FrannyTings. Today we're going to get into the topic of creative inspiration and staying consistent. So one of the questions I get asked a lot is, how do I stay so consistent with my podcast? And I wanted to get into it. There's a lot of methods that I use, and there's a lot of things that I've learned along my journey of trying to stay consistent with one thing. I feel like this is the first thing that I've been successful at staying consistent with, that I've taken upon this journey. So let's get into it. So first of all, I wanted to get into all the failed attempts that I have made trying to be consistent. So along my journey, when I first started getting more creative, I feel like I try to embark on a lot of different quests. I felt like I try to do a YouTube channel that I did attempt, but I could never stay consistent. And the reason why I feel is one of the first things that I wanted to get into, which is like perfectionism. I feel like I always had to be in the right headspace. I always had to make it a certain day to edit, or to try my best to make this perfect. I felt like I had to make sure that I had time to market myself and do all these things that made something so perfect. And in reality, I'm here to tell you that you're not always gonna start knowing everything, and you're not always going to start with all the right tools. Even for my podcast, there's a lot of things that I want to do, and I feel like I don't even have all the tools yet. Luckily, I work in the environment of where I'm doing my podcast, so I'm very blessed for that. But there's been a lot of things that I feel like I didn't have, that I've eventually caught up with. So the first thing is, not everything's going to be perfect, and don't be so hard on yourself, comparing yourself to people that have been doing this for years. I feel like that's another thing that stopped me from doing my YouTube channel, was that I would compare myself to Emma Chamberlain. I would compare myself to Shane Dawson. There was so many other people, so many YouTubers that I would compare myself to, and I'll be like, I just don't have time. I just can't be like them. And then I would sell myself short. And, if I just looked at it in a way that I'm like, let me edit because I just want to have fun, I feel like I would be more consistent than looking at it as oh fuck, I need to do these 3 videos a week, so then that way I can reach the goal like Emma Chamberlain. And sometimes it's not that way. Sometimes you just want to have fun with it. So that is one of the first things that I wanted to talk about, was not everything has to be perfect. You're always gonna learn things along the way, as long as you start. Some people get caught in the action of oh, I need to have a logo, I need to have a color palette, I need to have this, I need to have that in order to start what I want to start. And it's that's not necessarily true. Just start. Everything is baby steps, and from one day to the next, you're not going to be famous. You're not going to reach that amount of followers that you want. Whatever your project is, it's not going to happen from one day to the next, and that all takes time. And that's something that I definitely had to learn along the way. Everything takes time, and not everything is going to be the way that you envision it to be. And you should not compare yourself to anyone that's already in the position, I guess, where you want to be. Of course, you can look up to them, but don't compare yourself, because obviously there's nothing to compare. We're all on our individual journey, and that's something that we all have to understand. That's something that I'm still learning till this day. I feel like I look up to a lot of people, and there's certain people that I've been working towards something that they've already achieved, but maybe their calling, maybe that's their timing, but I have my own timing, and I know that I'm meant to be exactly where I am today. So that's something that we also have to look at in the overall image. So another thing that I feel like has helped me get more creative is, honestly, I know this is gonna sound cheesy, but creating a routine for myself. And I feel like self-care is something that I really hold a lot of value to. And this is something that I've talked about in a previous podcast. I talked all about self-care and, making time for yourself. But I really do think that is where I'm able to recharge. Now, I do think everyone has different ways of recharging. Some people are extroverts in the sense that they feel like they can recharge their energy by being with other people and maybe absorbing their energy. And there's like introverts, right? So I personally feel like I recharge in an introverted way because there's only a very few people that I can maybe count with one hand of who I feel comfortable being around when I'm at like a low point or where I feel like I need to recharge. And usually when I need to recharge, I am not this persona. Like I'm not like hi like all the fucking time, and I'm not like always goofy. I'm only human, you know, and I have my days where I just want to like deplete and I'm just tired and I just like want to like watch Netflix all day. Like, you know, I have those days, and sometimes I feel like when I have those days, I can't be around certain people because they expect the hi and the funny version of Franny, and sometimes I feel like I can't be that all the time. So there's a very few amount of people that I feel comfortable being like, I call it like all Frannies, like, you know, the Franny that has low energy and then the Franny that has a high energy, that they accept all versions of me. And that I feel like is very hard to find. So most of the time I feel like I recharge my energy my energy by hanging out with those people, or honestly just being completely alone. I feel like I really value my alone time, and it's because I feel like I don't have to have that front that I have, or I don't have to worry about being on time or, you know, being this way to please others around me. And that's like people pleasing vibes, but like, you know, that's another episode that I have, like, you know, I think it's called like I honestly forgot. I've already recorded so many episodes. Like I'm just so consistent. But anyways, so yeah, there's different types of way of recharging your energy, but just know I think it's really important to schedule in those self-care days and schedule in time for yourself, because that is really going to help you get into the creative headspace that you need. And I also want to address that you're not always gonna be creative all the fucking time, like, which is something that again, I'm still learning. You know, sometimes I have like really huge waves of creativity where like I am doing like 3 photo shoots, a podcast, a video, like art directing this one thing, you know, in 1 month, and then all of a sudden the next month I literally have like 2 things, and like even those 2 things like I'm not fully driven about. So creativity comes in waves, and I feel like when you're at a point where you're maybe not that creative, that's totally okay. And it's okay to like live in that space that you're like, maybe I just need to like vibe for a little bit, you know. But at the same time, I feel like sometimes when you feel like, oh, maybe I just need to vibe, that is a good wake-up call for you to focus on your why of why you started, you know, the project that you started, or why you're taking on this business journey. So that's the next topic I want to get into, is your why. You know, why do you want to take on this one role, or why do you want to take on this project that you need to be consistent with? For me personally, I can give the example of my podcast. It means a lot to me. I think it's like one of my top priorities right now. I always make time for it no matter what. Even when I am lacking creativity, I feel like I always find a way to think of a topic or get a topic out there, like, you know, whatever it is, because I know at the end of the day my why. And for me, my why is, I feel like all my life, I've always wanted other people to feel like they can relate. You know, I've always wanted everyone to feel comfortable being themselves. And I feel like what I was trying to do for my YouTube channel is show like that, you know, it's okay to be goofy. It's okay to have no makeup on sometimes. It's okay to just be you. Like, honestly, it's okay to be you. And, I feel like I really struggled with that growing up. And when I finally found my voice, I'm like, wow, I want to like spread how I feel to everybody. And another thing that I feel like I've always wanted to achieve in this life is to really understand like the different walks of life. I feel like I have a lot of gratitude, and I'm very thankful for the people that in my life that have experienced so many different things, you know, like so many different life experiences, and I get so eager to learn about them because it's like, you know, everyone is so different, yet it's so beautiful how people's perspective is on life because of the experiences that they've been through. So for me, if I can provide a platform for those people to share those experiences and also maybe get that same emotion that I feel when other people are telling me about their experiences, I want to go ahead and do that, you know? I feel like there are certain things that I have said that a lot of people have related to, and I feel like I've had other people on my podcast, like Mariana. She talked about how she didn't have kidneys for 6 years and how that motivated her into being the person she is today. Johnny, you know, he has DVT, and like with that condition, you know, he had a huge wake up call, and like, you know, that really did, I feel like, change his perspective and view of life. And a lot of people, you know, related to that story, and I feel like that's such a beautiful thing. And I just want people to feel like they're not alone. I feel like a long time in my life, I always felt like I was very secluded because of the type of person I was. I was very out there, and like, you know, I really didn't give a fuck at one point in my life, you know, like I was just out there, you know, I was being me, and I feel like a lot of people didn't accept me for that. So once I started, you know, seeing other people on the internet kind of having the same personality as me, I'm like, oh shit, like I'm not alone. Like, look at all these people, like they don't give a fuck like I don't give a fuck. So therefore, like, bitch, period. And it's like, I just want people to have like a safe space. Like sometimes people can't even feel like they're at home, you know, and that's a sucky feeling. Like I would never want anyone to feel like judged or criticized or anything. And I feel like if I can provide that home to people, that is like literally my goal. And I don't really do this, you know, to get money. I literally don't make money from this at all, like as of right now, you know, knock on wood, like it gets picked up and shit, but as of right now, I'm not really profiting financially from it, but I am profiting in how much joy it brings me every time I record an episode, every time I release an episode, the amount of feedback I get, you know. Sometimes I might not get feedback at all from my episode, like from other people. And I find that okay, because at the end of the day, I know why I'm doing this, and I know why, you know, it keeps me moving forward, you know? So that is my why. And every single time I find myself struggling and like trying to be like, fuck, what's another topic I can think of? Or, you know, like, damn, I have to like catch up on my episodes. I always remember my why, and it just makes it so much easier for me to edit. It makes me so much easier for me to be doing this, recording this, you know. I always find a way to make it happen because I know how much it means to me to get my message out there, and how much it means and how much it means to me, you know. Like I feel like eventually it will get to where I want it to get to, you know. I definitely want, you know, a bigger audience, and like get sponsored by like BetterHelp and Psychology Today and like HelloFresh, like all these fucking brands that I be listening to on other people's podcasts. But I know it will get there because of my why, and because of why I'm doing this, the intention of where I want to be and why I want to get there. So with that being said, another way of trying to stay consistent is whenever you're feeling that like the struggle, and that's totally okay too. I don't want you guys to think that like, you know, it's not okay to feel those things. It's totally fine, but just remember your why, and remember why you even started this project. And sometimes, which has happened to me many times, I have like literally a list of projects here that I never finish. Sometimes the why isn't strong enough to keep going. It's kind of like a toxic relationship a little bit. Like you're in it and you're like, oh my God, I'm so excited. But then as you're like continuing to go with this, you know, new idea or this new project, you're like, like maybe it's not what I expected it to be. And that's totally okay. Like we have to be okay with failure, and we have to be okay with like scratching ideas and starting fresh, because most of the time, for example, like video editing, most of the time when I have like a timeline, and in my head like I have this huge idea and I get down to it and I actually start editing it, like it's nothing like what I wanted it to be. And I have to learn how to scratch it and start from the beginning. And most of the time when I start from the beginning, it's literally way better than the original idea I even started with. So for all the creators out there, it's okay to start from the beginning and let go of that project. Sometimes it's not worth it. Sometimes it's not worth all the time you're stressing over, and you're like, yeah, but fuck, I've been working on this for 6 months. Like, who cares if you've been working on it for 6 months? If you're not motivated to do it and you've lost all motivation, scratch that shit. Do something new, or, reinvent it. That is totally okay. And I want to list some of the things that I have failed to attempt to sticking to, like, and being consistent with. So one of them being my YouTube channel. I know you guys are like, bitch, but aren't you on YouTube right now? Yes. But I have made other YouTube channels that I really did try to be like a YouTuber, like comment, like, subscribe. I do have a few videos on this channel that I am doing that, but those are like the better ones, that's like more when I'm like, okay, maybe I can do this. But before, like, it was very sporadic. Like, I would upload like once every 6 months. So that is where I kind of fell short. I also had this COVID documentary. So if you don't know and you're just tuning in now, I had COVID. I was COVID positive back in July of 2020. It's now 2021, right? Yeah. And I was in an efficiency in my own house for like around a month, and I experienced a breakup. I experienced my birthday in total isolation, which was really hard for me. So me being, I guess, like a filmmaker, and me being a creative bitch, I was like, let me document it. Let me document myself crying and what I'm going to eat. And like literally every step of the way, I documented it. And after I got out of COVID, I started editing it together. And every time I watch it, I cringe because I'm crying a lot. Is one. And two, like, I don't know, like, just I'm so vulnerable, and there's nothing wrong with that. There is nothing wrong with being vulnerable, but for me, it's just like something that is really hard to watch. And I'm really thinking about revisiting it and maybe making it a little better, because it is something that I want to eventually showcase. I know I talked about it on my podcast, but it's another thing seeing it, because when I watch that video, it's really, really hard to watch, because I feel like that version of myself is now dead. And when I watch that version of myself, I feel like really bad for her. Like, I feel really bad for that Franny that went through all these things. And like, I feel like that version is like, since it is kind of dead, it's like I mourn that version, and it's like, oh, like, I feel really bad for her. But point is that that is one of the things, and I'm not saying that I might not trash it completely. Maybe when I have the strength to revisit it, I will, but that's another one. Another idea, well, I've had a short film that I never made, and I also talk about that in another podcast that I have. And the reason I never made it was due to COVID as well. My film 4 class eventually got canceled. We didn't end up making our films because of COVID, but either way, I could have had the motive of still making it, but I just never did. And like, the theme of the story, like, I just didn't really care for it anymore, so I deaded it. And then I've shot so many things so many things that I are just sitting on a hard drive that I have not edited, like video editing, whatever. There was like an Adidas spec commercial that I shot that I never edited, and I tried going back to it actually a couple months later, and I'm like, ew, like I literally have no inspiration to like do this anymore. And I honestly think that's totally okay. And it's literally the process of creativity. And sometimes you're not always going to win. Not every project is going to be a win, and that's totally fine. But you learn from each project. That's something that, I do take pride in, is you really do learn from each thing. So the next thing I want to get into, which is my favorite, is planning and organizing. I totally just spit so much saying that. Wow. Yeah, my mouth is a little moist. But planning and organizing. Now I feel like people are gonna laugh when they hear this, but I'm a very big planner and a very big organizer, and the reason why is well, okay, actually let me backtrack. Okay, so I believe that the reason why I'm a big planner and organizer, like the root of it and like the psychology behind it, is because when I was little, or there's been a lot of situations that have not been in my hands. And when I don't have control over the situation, I feel like things get out of hand, and I feel like there are better resolutions to solve those situations, right? So once I started to gain independence, I was like, okay, if I can avoid these situations, I will. So basically, planning and organization comes from trauma. So when you see someone that is always on time, that is always very organized, that is a very like big planner, it usually comes from the unsteadiness or like the fear of unsteadiness, like due to like some type of trauma. So that is a psychology version of it, but it does help me a lot. It's a blessing in disguise, but it does really help me a lot because I'm able to see my month ahead of time. And, you know, I'm starting to understand that not everything I planned for will happen or I will get around to, and that's okay. But as long as I'm making efforts to do so. So I want to show you guys my calendar so then that way you can kind of see what I mean. I'll probably put pictures here of closer things, but just so you can get a gist. I know it looks fucking crazy right now. That's basically a gist of how I organize myself. I am the type of person that I literally have to see what and write like all my plans and all my to-do lists and all my dates because it makes me feel a little bit more secured. And when I write things down, I tend to remember more. So this is like kind of like a gist of my calendar. I'll put like a better picture. Then on top of my calendar, I have my to-do list. I know my notebook is like really bad. It was broken, but I'm also going to put a picture of this, but just like a gist. So I also have to-do lists. So my to-do list, I break into different categories. So I have my podcast to-do list, which there I have it organized by episodes and what I need to do for each episode. Now I do want to tell you guys, when I first started this podcast, it was a little hard for me. And I felt very overwhelmed because there were so many things I had to do. So to give you a gist of some of the things I do for my podcast is I record it. Sometimes I'll have help, but let's say, for example, today I'm doing this solo. I set up the lights, so I record it. Then after I record it, I edit it. So editing consists of merging the audio and the footage. So that's the first thing I do. After that, I'll cut out parts that maybe are not useful or that I don't like or whatever it is. And then I add visuals to it. Once I do that, I export it. Once I do that, I'll go ahead and upload it to YouTube or my RSS feed, which is Buzzsprout. Shout out Buzzsprout. Once I do that, it's all about promotion now. So I create 2 Instagram posts on Canva, and then with those 2 Instagram posts, I make them into stories, and then I try to create roughly 4 TikToks. And then on top of that, I also create the thumbnail. And then on top of that, I do story assets in the sense that on my story, I promote that I have a new episode and all that. So all those things in the beginning felt like a lot. And now I can get that done within like 2 hours. And the reason why is because once you start creating those habits, you're going to be able to get it way faster. And I feel like since I stuck to it and I was consistent and I created those habits early on, I was able to do it with ease. Before it would take me maybe like a week to do all those things I just listed, and now it literally takes me maybe 2 hours. So that's just like a gist of how organization has helped me a lot personally. So with my to-do list, I break it down into different things. So I have my podcast to-do list. I have a website to-do list of what I need to do for that. And then I have like an adulting to-do list. That's what I have right here. And then I have like a pending list of like the future things that I need to get done. So it really all depends on how you personally process things. The way I process things can be very different of how other people process things. I know some people prefer to have everything on their phone, Google Calendar and all this, and that's great. As long as you're finding a way to make sure that not everything that you need to do is all in your head, because that's when things can get misconstrued. You get dates that are mixed up, and then you're like, oh fuck, like I just want to like give up because this is really overwhelming. Like, take everything one day at a time and make sure that you can physically maybe see what you need to do, whether it's writing it on your notes or whatever it is. Just make sure that you are consistent in the sense of like moving with intention, which is the next topic I want to get into. Look at that transition. So the next thing I want to get to is intentions, moving with intention. I think this is so important. So like in high school, I feel like I would wake up, obviously go to school, and then come home from school, and it was just that. Like, I feel like once I found my purpose, and once I found like, okay, maybe I shouldn't just wake up and decide what I'm going to do, when I wake up, I try to, it started off planning my day before the following day. So let's say like before I would go to sleep or the day before, I would plan out what I needed to do for the next day. And I felt like that helped me motivate myself to eventually plan for the week and eventually plan for the month. So, and this really did help me a lot to stay consistent, because if I planned, let's say 2 weeks ago to record this episode, like it was very stress-free because I already knew all the things I needed to get this episode done 2 weeks ago. So those are like the little things that I would recommend, is moving with intention. So an example is before you go to sleep tonight, or if you're waking up in the morning, write what you need to do throughout that day. So then that way you can intentionally move with purpose and have a day that can actually mean something. So that way for the future, it can benefit whatever it is. If your goal is to lose 10 pounds and you just wake up and you're just like, oh, I guess like, I don't know what I'm going to do. Like, no, have a routine, wake up, workout, juice or meal prep, whatever it is you need to do. Just anything to help you move with intention is what I'm trying to say. And I think that's very important. There's not a single day that I go through that I just wake up and decide like, oh, I guess I'll just do this. Like, no, I feel like almost every single day I have is like kind of pre-planned. And sometimes I don't get nothing done on my to-do list. And, that's something that my therapist told me that's totally okay. So one of the tactics my therapist showed me for time management, especially if you have like a lot of work that needs to get done and you feel very overwhelmed, is to set alarms for yourself. So an example is, let's say I have a photo shoot to edit, right? I'll put an alarm for 2 hours. And for those 2 hours, I put my phone away. I, really, really tune in for those 2 hours. Once the timer goes off, I stop and I just move on to another task, or I give myself a 20-minute break. Whatever gets done in those 2 hours is what gets done. If nothing gets done in those 2 hours, you have to let it be. If, everything gets done in those 2 hours, that is great, but you also have to let it be. There's nothing more and nothing less than those 2 hours. So basically, it's training yourself to stay focused on that task for, those 2 hours. Even if you don't get it done, it's just putting in that effort to try to get it done. So you do that along the day with different tasks. And you also have to make sure that you time your breaks. Not necessarily time your breaks, but like make time for a break. It's not like you're going to do 2 hours of editing and then like another 3 hours of this and another 4. Like, no. You have to make time, to breathe, take a break, 15 minutes, and then come back to it with a new task. So then that way it's like a palate refresher, you know? So that's something that my therapist taught me that I thought I would share because I have done it a few times. Honestly, I stopped doing it because I low-key started realizing that I do it subconsciously. Like sometimes I'll like be like, I'm gonna work out from 10 to 12, and then like from 12 to 1 I have my therapy session, and then like from 1 to 3 I'm gonna edit, and then when I'm doing it I'm like, oh wait, like I'm basically kind of already trained myself to do so. But if I do have a lot of work that like I feel really overwhelmed, then I'll go ahead and set the alarm, so then that way I don't drive myself crazy. So that's a good tip. So planning and organizing is a key thing when it comes to staying consistent and staying creative. And like I said, you know, it's okay if you lack that motivation or you lack that creativity. As long as you understand your why, and as long as you keep it moving and you're trying every day to get closer to your goal, then I think that's what matters at the end of the day. And the last thing I wanted to get into was being multi-passionate. I feel like I tend to get caught up in like, I call it the American dream, because I feel like we are raised to be one thing. Like, oh, in this life you can only be a firefighter, or in this life you can only be a doctor, and that's how you'll be successful. And like, I do not agree with that. I feel like in life you have so many different things that you can be involved with or be passionate about. And I call that being multi-passionate. I call myself a multifaceted artist. When people ask me like, oh, what is it that you do? I'm like, well, honestly, like, I think I'm a multifaceted creator. You know, I art direct, I'm a model. I also have a podcast. I also do photography. Like, really anything you need, like, I got you when it comes to the world of creativity. That's the type of energy I bring to the table. And the way that I look at that is, you know, if you have a business, how do you expect to be the CEO of a business and not go through every single position that that company has to offer? That's, I feel like, a very important way of thinking. I feel like a lot of people just expect like success kind of to be given to them in a way, and like not go through the notions of like failure, not go through the notions of like, you know, the dirty jobs that you have to do in order to succeed. So for example, like, I feel like, let's say for me, I want to be eventually like maybe an art director for Vogue, or a model for Vogue, or just like, you know, a higher brand or a higher calling. You know, I just want my name to be really out there, right? That is my goal. How do I expect to art direct for Vogue or model for Vogue if I didn't model for a friend of mine, or I didn't, you know, start off on fucking, what is it called? Like Pixel? Is it Pixel? Like the fucking, I don't know. Like just doing something small and then it leading up to something bigger. I feel like you have to go through every single position in order to understand it and also master it. You know, if you haven't been through every single position, I feel like you cannot be a master at that one thing. For example, film. How do you expect to be a director if you didn't start as a PA? How do you expect to be a director if you didn't start as a DIT? How do you expect to be a fucking director if you don't even know how to edit? How do you expect to be a director if, you know, you can't write a script? Like, there's so many factors that you really have to study and go through. And that doesn't necessarily mean that you have to like every single step, because you're only human and you're not going to fucking enjoy everything about film and everything about directing. Like, I don't expect you to do that, or I don't expect anyone to do that, but it's more so understanding each role, so then that way you can be the best at it. because you understand every position. And I feel like that's how I view, my career and my craft. Like, how do I expect a good photographer if I can't relate to the model, and vice versa? How do I expect to be a good model if I can't relate to the photographer? And I feel like that's what, takes me up a notch from, being a photographer, being a model, or whatever it is, because I understand those roles, both of them. So therefore I can really work with the light and, whatever it is. So I'm just using myself as an example because that's what I have right now is myself. But, think about it in that way. Whatever role it is that you're trying to endure, like be the best at, I feel like you really have to go through all of the roles. And going back to like the American dream of being one thing, I don't think that is realistic. I feel like all of us are passionate about different things, and that's totally okay if you want to tap into those things. And this also taps into the consistency side of it, because some days I feel like I want to model, and some days I feel like I want to, shoot my own vision and not be the model for it, like direct someone else to be the model. And sometimes I want to edit a video, and sometimes I don't want to edit a video. Sometimes I want to fucking produce music. Sometimes I want to sing. Like, it really all depends on like what you really want to do that one day. I feel like sometimes I'll get bored of doing the same thing over and over again, and I want to explore and try something new. So it's okay to be multi-passionate, and I feel like that's a beautiful thing. And if anything, you have the fucking upper hand of being multi-passionate because you do it all. It's not like you go like somewhere and be like, oh, I can't do that. Like, no, you have the upper hand. Like, I can do this. I feel like I have pride in what I do and like being multi-passionate, because on a set, I can be a grip. On a set, I can be an actress. On a set, I can be the videographer. On a set, I can be the photographer. Like, I feel like I have the upper hand in that because of putting myself in these situations of like, trying it all out. So this just sounds like I'm just like gloating. Is that the word? I just sound very big-headed, but it is true. Like with whatever you do, this, I feel like this podcast specifically is for creators, but with whatever it is you do, it's okay to be multi-passionate, and it's okay to, have a different interest another day, like for something else. Like I feel like that's totally normal. And, like, do what you feel is right in that moment. So yeah, with that being said, I feel like it's super achievable. Achievable, is that even a word? I don't know, but it is very achievable to be consistent. And there's a lot of factors of being consistent. Oh my God, I can't fucking talk. There is a lot of factors of being consistent and trying to be creative. But, I feel like with this little cheat sheet I have presented to you, I feel like maybe it can make your life a little easier. So the main things that for me personally have worked when it comes to being consistent is, one, not to be so hard on yourself. We're all human. 2, planning and organizing not only important dates and things that you need to do as for work, but also making time for yourself and recharging. Those that is very important, and it's going to help you with your creativity, and it's going to help you overall as an individual. And also, multi-passionate things. Like, if you feel like one day you want to, I don't know, create or paint, and then the next day you want to, I don't know, try something different, go with that gut feeling. It's totally okay. And another thing is, oh my God, did I say perfection already? I need an assistant. But yeah, point is, there's just like a lot of ways to remain consistent, and I'm sure you guys will find it. Just remember, I think, did I say my why? Oh my God, this is so bad. Let me start over. Okay. So with that being said, I feel like there's a lot of different ways to remain consistent and creative. So let me bullet point back to everything that I listed. So one of them being, you're not a perfectionist, and you're not, oh my God. I'm getting hungry. I can tell. Anyways. So overall, it's 100% doable to be creative and consistent. So some of the things that can help you be creative and consistent. Oh my God. So some of the things that can help you be creative and consistent is, one, understanding that you're not perfect. We all make mistakes and we all endure failure. You know, it's totally okay. Two, it's okay to start new. It's okay to start fresh. You know, scratch that project that maybe you were like dwelling over. It's been 6 months. You still haven't worked on it. Scratch that shit and start from the beginning. 3, planning and organizing. That is very important, especially for me, bitch. But make sure to plan self-care days and plan days to recharge. Not everything in your planner has to be dedicated to work, which is something that I catch myself doing a lot. Most of the time they're deadlines, they're all these things, and it's like nothing there of like self-care. So I'm trying to work on that. And then 4, feeling it out, feeling what you want to do within that day that is going to feed your passion, which is basically being multi-passionate. And another thing is moving with intention. You know, you want to make sure that you are aware of what you need to do within that day to get one step closer to your goal, whatever that goal might be for you. But yeah. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode, and I hope that it did help. I know some of the things were kind of repetitive, but I feel like these are the things that I personally tell myself, and sorry if I use myself as an excuse a lot. I feel like I'm going based on what I have experienced and my experiences and like whatever it is, but I hope that this also can benefit the people who maybe aren't in the creative field, but you know, like still have things that they need to be consistent with. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed, and I love you, and have an amazing day, and make sure to fucking subscribe, interact with my post, bitch, because you know, like I'm trying to like get some clout, please. Anyways, yeah, make sure you fucking subscribe to me and interact with me, please. And you know, if you fucking with the energy, like let me know any feedback as well. You know, am I talking too much? Am I burping too much? You know, am I not showing enough titties? Because I definitely know I didn't today. Sad. But anyways, I love you guys and have an amazing day. Bye.